What's up, YouTube? I am Dave Winchester with Lost Save Gaming, and today I'm going to review Captain America Civil War. This is actually going to be a spoiler-free review, so if you're looking out for spoilers, don't worry. I'm not going to give anything away as far as the plot goes, or if it's been in the trailers, then I'll talk about it. Otherwise, it's completely off the books. You're not going to have to worry about it. Now, is this a good movie? A lot of people are worried that because there are so many characters in one movie that the plot is going to be all over the place. It wasn't going to be that great because the whole Batman v Superman scenario where you're trying to fit too much into one movie. Absolutely not. This movie is amazing. Everything works very well. The plot is somewhat linear, so you're always knowing where characters are going. You know what their motivations are. And even though the scope of it's large and there are a lot of characters doing a lot of different things, the end point, the end goal is actually in sight. You don't get like a major villain thrown out of left field like you had with Doomsday and Batman v Superman. Everything works together, everything's very cohesive, all the characters are fully fleshed out. There's tons of character development with Bucky for Winter Soldier, Iron Man, Captain America. You get a feel of what the characters are doing and why they're doing it, like right off the bat. And a lot of the situation evolves very quickly, and a lot of the characters grow and have to change with the situation. So yeah, the way the story's told works very well for the movie, and luckily you don't have that whole like just all over the place plot. Everything's very confined, even though there's a lot of characters. The best parts of the movie are definitely the action sequences. There's a huge big budget action sequence every probably 5 to 10 minutes in the movie. There's a little bit of plot, then all of a sudden you get like this huge set action piece where tons of characters are fighting, and then you go back to the plot for a little bit. And there was never any downtime. There was never a time where you were watching the movie and just being like, oh my God, why are they doing this? This is so boring. Just get on with it. No, even in the moments where there's no action, you have like witty comments and you have real moments. Like it's a mixture of the movie being funny, but also the characters being very real. The situation is not taken lightly, which is what I liked. I was kind of worried that as a Marvel movie, there's going to be too many jokes or it just wasn't going to make sense because they're just trying to make it comic booky. But that's not the case. All the jokes are placed for a reason and they all work very well. But those real moments with characters that have real issues with what's going on and have real stakes in it, and actually the acting is phenomenal and it feels like this is a real situation, which is hard to do in a comic book movie. The action sequences themselves are amazing. All the choreography is perfect. It's really brutal. If anybody remembers the action sequences in films like, I mean, not films, but in the show Daredevil, they're very similar to that. They're very just visceral is the word I would use for it. And they work very well. And even though it's a Marvel movie, people do die and die in very brutal ways in this movie. And there's just like a lot, the movie feels very grounded in reality, which is just very strange for a Marvel movie, but it works very well. The overall plot, as most people know from watching the trailers, is Tony Stark wants to kind of put a leash on the Avengers and their abilities, while Captain America doesn't think that's right. Because what if, let's say, something's happening over in another country and the UN will not allow them to go to that country to stop it? Then more people will die. That's the way he sees it. Now, a lot of people have said, oh, Captain America's motivations don't seem right because he's Captain America. He loves working for the government. But you have to remember, after Winter Soldier, where the government pretty much stabbed him in the back, yes, he's going to want his like abilities to be used for good regardless. So he doesn't want the government to come in and put a leash on him because he doesn't want to be like held back from helping people, which makes sense. And Tony Stark also, his motivations for wanting them to actually be on a leash makes sense as well, because what if, you know, one of them goes rogue? What are they going to do about it? Like, they have really no jurisdiction. So he wants to make sure that's contained. So you would think that these different motivations, like they wouldn't work, but they do. They're very, very, like I said, grounded in reality. There's a reason for each character to want what he wants, and it obviously leads to a head, and it should. Luckily, the big fight sequence that most people have been seeing, that little splash trailer of all the characters fighting each other, that sequence is done very well. You would think that it was just going to be like mayhem and the cinematography is going to be crazy and you wouldn't know what's going on. But honestly, it's done superbly well. It's actually probably the best action sequence I've ever seen in any comic book movie, which is crazy to me because it's a Civil War movie. It's just a Captain America movie. It did better than the Avengers action sequences, in my opinion, because the Avengers action sequences were kind of like just like quick cuts with enemies being destroyed and people being killed, where with this movie, like, you always knew what characters were doing. You knew what Ant-Man was doing in the fight, and you knew what Black Panther was doing in the fight, and you knew what Spider-Man was doing in the fight, which is hard to do in these huge scenes with so many characters, but they pull it off flawlessly. The Russo brothers as directors just knocked it out of the park. Honestly, if this movie does less than like 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, I'll be thoroughly shocked. Oh yeah, so let's get back to it. Now, even though I've talked about the action sequences and the characters, there are some parts of the movie that feel very strange at first, but they work themselves out in the end. So if you're wondering about the villain, he is in there. His motivations are great. He's not just thrown in at the end of the movie. Like, everything makes sense as far as that goes. Acting is superb on all fronts. They actually flush out a lot of characters, like Scarlet Witch, who in the not Captain America, the last Avengers movie, I thought was just kind of thrown in there, and I don't like how they stopped calling her a mutant. She's an enhanced human in these movies or something like that. But in this movie, because she's enhanced, it actually works for her character, because there's a relationship that develops between her and another character in the movie. And because the way her powers came about, it kind of lets them bond over that. And all the characters and what sides they fall on all make sense. You would think that, like, I honestly was wondering why Black Widow was on Iron Man's side, but then after seeing the movie, it definitely makes more sense. Let me talk about Spider-Man really quickly. He is one of the best parts of this movie. His interactions between Tony Stark and himself are amazing. The actor that they got to play Spider-Man does both Peter Parker and Spider-Man very well. The action sequences with Spider-Man are phenomenal. Like, I am so looking forward to the Spider-Man movie. It's unbelievable. And on top of that, while he's fighting these characters, he's throwing out those witty one-liners that you would expect from Spider-Man, which is what should be happening. He shouldn't be quiet or just saying his one-liner and then that's it. That's what was happening in a lot of the other movies. In this one, his jokes are just like flying out. And there's also a great joke that he throws out at the very end of the airport scene, which you've got to watch out for. It's absolutely incredible. But yeah, Spider-Man, definitely one of the best parts of the movie, hands down. I'm looking forward to the next Avengers movie, considering where this movie left all the characters. Now, there are characters that are missing, like the Hulk, and you have Thor that's also missing. But honestly, if they were tossed in, it would have just been like a little bit of an addition, so I'm not mad that they're left out. So that's going to be it for my review. Overall, the movie's spectacular. You definitely should see it. If you're worried about the whole Batman v Superman issue with so many characters being in it, don't worry at all. All the characters grow and change and evolve, and the story is told in such a good way that you won't feel like it's just like all over the place. It's very linear, it's very direct, it's told through Captain America's eyes, so it just works. The action sequences that are in the movie are great. From the very first sequence in the movie is actually a huge action sequence to, if anybody's seen the trailer with the highway sequence with Black Panther and Winter Soldier, that one was also amazing. You have all these action sequences. There's some I'm even missing. Like, the one at the end is amazing. It all works. You have to go see this movie. If I had to give it stars, I would say I'd probably rate it like 5 out of 5 stars. So go check it out. And that's going to be it for this review. I've been Dave Winchester. If you want to follow me on social media, all that stuff is going to be in the description below. If you like the video, make sure you click the like button. Leave a comment. If you've seen the movie, let me know what you think. Also, if you want to see more of my content, go to my channel and make sure you subscribe. That's going to be it, and have a great day.